since, or nothing has happened since last week except for writing a lot of decisions. So I don't know if we want to just get into the 3 decisions that I have there to try to get those out of the way before we start into the meeting.
Sure. Start with 41 Warren.
Yep.
Okay. Sue, were you here for this one?
I think so.
This is an addition on the back of the house.
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell?
No.
I don't think Sue was there.
When did this come before?
You were, because I was mindful this was a special permit. We were waiting for David. We took all but 10 minutes on this.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
So great.
No, not a big deal.
Okay, so, okay.
No basement.
All right.
That's good.
I'm just looking for typos, actually. So may I move that we accept the certificate of action special permit for 41 Warren Ave?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next one is 18 Wellesley.
Right, so I included that. It's the last page of the decision that actually is the same thing that we took a look at last week. There was one, from our last meeting, I worked with, or I sent Roy a copy of the procedure section that we had to complete from the hearing on the 26th. And in the findings section, Roy just had a question as far as whether number 7 was actually what the board had, which is on page 7, whether that was a finding the board had made. And I just wanted to make sure that I had my notes that it was down correct.
Which number?
So finding 7 on page 7 of 13.
So is it page 7 of 13?
Yeah.
Yes, consistent with the style and character of homes in case, yeah. I mean, I wasn't.
When did you say that? Yeah, it had to do with the change in the topography, you know, around the bar.
Yeah, but most of the houses in the district are on flat sites.
It's a very specific site, in other words. This is referring to the house in relation to the neighborhood.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't know that it adds anything to us, but do we need that in there?
I don't think so. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can take it out.
Okay. Actually makes it.
Wasn't there one that you added?
Yes, last week. Couple things under procedures.
Right. And so that was, as I believe we had reviewed the language before, actually closing this hearing out. Number 5 on the top of page 9 of 13.
What was the language of the height on the truss?
That was in the,
Yeah, that was a good question. I saw it mentioned in sort of the findings. Not findings.
yeah.
That was in, when we looked at the draft last week, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
was
it was in then.
So it's in then?
It was in then, I don't know if
But
it's in now.
No, it should be.
It's on page 12 at the top, A, section A.
Okay,
Oh,
yes,
yes, there it is.
yep. So after a while, you go across that and hear these things.
Good. And is that the way it's stated? And the top of the bottom chord of the truss in the barn portion?
Yeah.
Correct.
That's right.
Bottom chord, huh? This is another new thing, like the dingle.
The top of the bottom.
What is the top and the bottom chord?
It's the
The horizontal
member.
piece at the bottom of the truss is the top of that horizontal piece.
So it might be a 2x10 or
But
something.
isn't that whole thing a truss? Or is it
The whole thing is a
the
truss,
triangular
But
piece
the
of the
wooden
truss?
piece going across the bottom.
Cord.
It's the bottom cord.
But they're actually all cords, all around the perimeter, but that's the bottom cord.
Okay.
Top cord.
Sounds like Old English.
It's not how you stack firewood.
Old English architecture. Yeah. Right. Well, that's what I figured it would be, but since I've never actually heard it used. Well, I'd ask.
So, now if you want to sign this, removing that number 7 actually doesn't change the signature page on the end, so I can just replace that page, and that's this decision as well as 41 Warren Ave.
Yeah, we trust you.
Gotta get through this one first.
We have to vote for it first.
So actually, the board actually did vote to
Did you vote?
approve it,
Yeah.
and authorize Roy to take a look at it. I was just basically bringing it back in front of the board to make sure that everything is
So
up
you
to
guys
snuff.
voted on
The
it
two
last
changes,
week.
the other change was the blasting and the procedure
Yeah.
for blasting.
Yeah.
And that's under general and erosion control conditions during construction.
Okay. Let's just take a look at that. We usually,
Should we also put in notifying the fire
Yeah.
department and stuff?
fire department and the residents, it's redundant, but there's usually a statement in
And
there.
that's like state law, isn't it?
It is, but
State
it
standard.
never hurts to reiterate it, because sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah, somebody might look at this and think this is all they need to do, and they actually have other responsibilities.
I know it's been a problem. Notification of the fire department, for example, and the neighbors has been problems before.
Yeah, but would we really need to say that? Because they're going to have to come before the planning board anyway, before any blasting can take place. And at that point, would we
But
remind
even
them?
after they come to it, we could remind them.
Would remind them?
But it doesn't hurt to have it right.
Okay, yeah. Suspenders and
Yeah.
belt again.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can just tack on to the end.
Usually
Uh,
24 or 48 hours notice.
Yeah, but it's just notice to the planning.
No.
Yeah.
For the
This is the other-
fire department.
Oh, right. They don't have to come before us to talk about blasting.
Yeah, that's what it says right
It
here.
says right here.
we did that on Lexington.
They must be the planning
Oh,
board.
yeah.
At that point, we can tell them, make sure they're notified of the club, and it's saying it's in there now.
For notification of the neighbors and fire
Yeah.
department.
so that
And usually it's a 24 hour, it's a 24 or 48 hour notice. I forget which one it is.
So should we say, impacted abutters shall be notified no less than 48 hours in advance?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
how about the fire department?
And notify the fire department and neighbors 48 hours in advance. And then it's at least in writing, we can point to it if they don't do it.
Okay, I got that down.
Well, aren't they supposed to notify the Department of Public Safety? Massachusetts Department of Public Safety as part of their...
Yeah, they can do a whole bunch of stuff, but the local complaints that we got are all about the fire department. Fire department has said, we didn't hear anything, and now we're getting complaints from neighbors.
Just makes it easier. Remind them of that.
Okay, so those are the only changes, Roy?
Yep, the painting, the blasting,
And the culvert.
and the board.
Okay.
And the topography.
Yes, and findings, yep.
And so we should re-vote on this?
Probably.
Okay. Well, I guess I would move that we accept the direction for 18 Wellesley Street with the amendments as discussed.
All in favor? Aye.
That would be as a free voting members who voted on the last.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Want to go ahead and just take 2 minutes and do 5 Windsor and get it out of the way?
Yeah, or the last page of that 18 Windsor was the Scenic Road, which that was just 2 pages at the end of the 18 Wellesley decision.
That's the last page of that.
Typo. Paragraph 3, second sentence, if the area is to be planted. It says, it reads if the area is to be planting. Or maybe it isn't a typo, is that what you mean, planting?
I'm sorry, you said condition 3?
Yeah, so if you mean it, if the area is to be planting, is that what you mean?
No, planted.
Okay.
That was a standard condition, or that was a condition we had on, it was the Wildflower Highland, it was the Highland Equestrian Barn, and it was on the corner of Pine and Highland, the Reaver's house. So I don't know if we want to keep that in here. Wellesley Street is a little different than those areas.
Well, what do you think, Sue? Daylilies and ferns, or?
Well, I would hate to have to stay lilies and ferns, but it should be planted with low-lying vegetation to reinforce the natural and scenic character. I mean, it's just sort of for example. But up in what you're referring to, it's pretty formal looking, regular repeated pattern with no sort of natural build to it.
Okay, so do you think we should change this or add to it, or?
Kim, how would you, if you wanted to sort of suggest to people that they do low-lying vegetation, of a natural sort, how would you say it? Rather, don't forget the dailies and ferns going, they seem to just repeat themselves over and over.
Well, you could do a seed mix, right? Or you could do, you could do just a planting of ferns and daylilies with a seed mix, to come in see like the next wave of vegetation that comes in through.
Would they be strong enough to come in daily?
Some of them would, yeah.
Some of them. Right?
Well, you could just do ferns with a seed mix then.
Mhm. I'm just trying to think. Is
Unless
there any
you
better way to
say-
stay?
Well, unless you
stay
say, you know,
No, we never see sort of a wild grasses
Right.
and the small natives. So it's like natives. That's what I like.
Right,
Or
which is why I think
a
it's
native
like-
roadside type.
right, which I, you know, sort of begs the seed mixture.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you'd want something in there to
Yeah,
establish
to
immediately, so maybe we just forego the daylilies and start with ferns and a seed mix and then let the seeds
Yeah.
for.
They should germinate through their hay, their mulch cover, right?
Do that.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
All right, so now we
what
can
do
come up with
say?
something. What do we say? If the area is to be planted, it should be seeded with a,
There was a upland roadside mix.
upland roadside mix.
From New England wetland plants or similar
With native
plants.
to reinforce the natural and scenic character of the scenic road. You got that? Oh, yeah, well, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, so what I have is, if the areas to be planted, it should be seeded with an upland roadside mix or similar to reinforce the natural and scenic character of the scenic road.
Right. With an upland roadside, New England or wildflower or native, we want to say native.
From New England wetland plants or a similar establishment.
So now, when you've got that written, it should be there.
From New England wetland plants?
Yeah, that's a company that.
Okay. Okay, so if the area is to be planted, it should be seeded with an upland roadside mix from New England wetland plants or similar to reinforce the natural and scenic character of the scenic road.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. It's not perfect. We must have to, we'll have to come up with a paragraph on that. It's a little bit more fine toned. All right, so in that case, can I move that we accept the certificate of action, scenic road approval with conditions, and also with the changes that you just mentioned for 1918 Wellesley Street in Weston?
I second that.
All in favor? Okay. Do we still want to go for 5? Windsor, just to get it out of the way?
Sounds good.
Because this one is also pretty minimal.
So the main thing is that because this was advertised and held jointly with 18 Wellesley, when we summarize our discussions, I just kept in the discussion for 18, although most of that is irrelevant for this application. And I was just thinking today that perhaps we take out the whole discussion section, include that as attachment A, and state in the discussion section that discussion on the proposed landscape plan occurred on January 22nd. The following was discussed. For a complete summary of the joint hearing on 18 in Wellesley, please see attachment A. I mean, it's that, or we just keep everything as is, which, because we didn't separate out the discussions.
Well, I don't think it's bad to keep it in. Just,
Either way.
just
I
it
mean-
gives context to the rest.
Oh, that's such a, I mean, ordinarily I'd say yes, but it's such a big change, I think we'd have to review it again.
Yeah.
Which seems to me to be overkill for this. Removing a couple of plants.
basically the decision is just recording the revised landscape that showed the changes as related to the border between 5 Winsor and 18 Wellesley. Everything else in the 5 Winsor Way certificate of action from 2011 stays the same, except it's modified by the landscape plan.
Okay. Good.
Roy?
Okay, I'll move that we accept this, what are we going to call this, conditions?
Certificate of action.
Certificate of action
Amendment to the
Amendment.
certificate of action.
for 5 Windsor Way.
And I just saw that the date up top was wrong.
Right, so you just changed it. I would second that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the next step for this is, the next stop is the zoning board of appeals.
Exactly.
Do we write a memo or anything to the ZBA? It's a non-conforming lot, it's a decision enough. Should we show up at the ZBA hearing?
I think that may be one of the things the board wants to discuss. Maybe if we hear the outcome of the meeting with Historic, we can then decide whether or not there are issues that we felt still need to be addressed in front of the ZBA. If all of a sudden Historic and the applicant come together on color selection, does that then alleviate any of the concerns of the board? I would be giving them a copy of the decision anyway, so it's just, do we want to expand upon it? Are there issues that we felt we couldn't cover in our site plan that we want to raise with them?
I'm just thinking about procedure, because this is like one of the first ones of these, even though it was processed earlier and
Right.
following through on that.
Yeah, I think it probably would be good to have FaceTime as this being
Yeah.
one of the first ones.
I think so.
But they haven't even
They haven't scheduled it.
No, they haven't even met with Noreen yet. So we're not talking about until probably beginning of May that they probably don't end up in front of them.
Okay, all right, so let's just put that on the agenda, you know,
Okay.
that we should follow up on that. And then, next week, are we going to look at a draft COA for Gifford?
Yep.
Yeah.
Next week?
Yeah,
Well, I'll send it out next week so that we can review it on the 19th.
right. All right, good, that's it for that. No, but we always get it ahead of time.